We're back. It's the Crossing Kin living room coming to you. Well, sort of live. It's hot outside.
It's
We don't want to deal with it. It's August in Arkansas. We love living. Hey, we've talked about all summer long that we're doing Crossing Kin in the Crossing Kin living room. We don't hate living in Arkansas. We choose to live here. But yeah, it's cotton picking hot.
I'm Kristen.
I'm Randy. This
Is Katie. Y'all have seen her a couple of times before on this channel, and you've heard her voice a time or two as well. I will link at least one video that our dear sweet sister is featured in the description, in the card up here. She is my sister, his daughter. And we love having her. Today we have her as a tiebreaker.
don't tell your sisters, but you're my favorite.
So as Dad and I a couple of months ago, we did something new to Crossing Kin called Versus. Well,
It's going to wind up being a whole new series.
we learned that we kinda need a
An arbiter.
tiebreaker because he and I wound up bickering just a little bit more than I kind of wanted us to.
We don't bicker as a family. Have lively conversation.
We lively
animated
conversed.
conversation.
We
How's that?
animatedly conversed quite thoroughly through that video, so Katie is here to help us break the tie.
As she has been all of our lives. For some reason, Katie fits this whole I'm going to help y'all moderate. Stop it, y'all. You know, she
put y'all in your corners.
Yeah,
exactly.
Why do you think she's in the middle?
Yeah.
All right, but today, as you might be able to tell by the shirts we're all wearing, we are pitting two of the biggest fantasy franchises against each other. We are doing Lord of the Rings versus Harry Potter. We're specifically talking about the movies, but the books are going to play a part.
Now, please, Kristen, explain a little bit about what we do here at Crossing Kin versus.
Okay, so we are going to take these two properties and pit them against each other in 5 specific categories. We're going to talk the cast, the visual effects, which is both the practical and CGI effects, the score, because here at Crossing Kin we will always pay homage to the music, the adherence to the source material, as both of these come from phenomenal book franchises, and the impact. And as far as the impact goes, we are going to talk about the cultural impact, you know, how the world was on fire for these series, but also the stuff that has come after the main series of stuff. So spin-offs, extra media, etc., etc.
Okay, hold on tight to us too, because we are going to try and wrap this all up in a more brief episode than what that sounds like we're gonna have.
Yeah,
I mean, let's face it,
it's gonna go for an hour.
Kristen's gonna be wrong on it anyway, so it won't really matter.
Hit him for it.
Nope. Corners.
Round 1, ding.
All right, let's start right off the bat here with the cast. So let's start with Harry Potter. They honestly, at the beginning of the franchise, had a unknown-ish kid cast. Their main cast were the children, and most of them were unknown. They're very well known now due to Harry Potter,
and a few other things that we really can't talk about here.
With the exception of Daniel Radcliffe and Tom Felton, most of the cast, the Harry Potter franchise was their first film. However, the adult cast, Richard Harris, who was the original Dumbledore,
was also King Arthur in Camelot.
Maggie Smith, Alan Rickman. Those are what's Hagrid's name? Robbie Coltrane.
Robbie Coltrane, yeah.
Robbie.
He was in James Bond.
He was a Bond villain. He was a Bond villain.
And then Helper.
And then Helper. Yeah, he was in Pierce Brosnan's Bond films. But the adult cast were, oh my goodness, royalty. Let's just go with.
I wouldn't go that far.
They were
good actors, but I wouldn't go
stars.
They were known actors.
They were well-known actors. And as the franchise progressed, even more well-known actors were brought in. Jason Isaacs as Mr. Malfoy. The gentleman who plays Sirius Black, his name just escaped me, as well as the gentleman who plays
Gary Oldman.
Thank you, Katie. As well as the gentleman who plays Remus Lupin. But they attract Ray Fiennes as Lord Voldemort. Like, they attracted so many amazing British actors into the franchise as it went on. And let's be honest, the kid cast did a great job. Especially for it being most of their first roles. Right?
However, when you go to Lord of the Rings, you have an established cast. Regardless of the shirt I may be wearing, let's just call it what it is. It is the better of the two franchises for a myriad of reasons, of which I will elucidate as we continue through our program today.
Okay, run through the cast
So,
for us.
here's the thing. I can't remember all their names.
I can.
All you got to
She
say is Christopher.
Lee?
Yes. That's it, right?
Saruman.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
All I'm saying is Christopher Lee. Let's start there. Dude's been playing Dracula forever. Okay? Actor, no one in the Harry Potter cast would say anything about the fact that they were second to this actor. He was the absolute perfect Saruman. The cast in and of itself was all-star after all-star after all-star. Let's face it, all of the hobbits had pretty much starred as children or
I
teenagers.
don't know about
It's-
Dominic and Billy, but they at the very least were in BBC stuff.
They had some acting roles. You know,
Sean and Elijah
Sean and
were-
Elijah
were
were
children
established
actors.
actors, and it's a little difficult.
And
Ian
Ian
McKellen,
McKellen.
thank you. Yeah, absolutely. You're talking between Christopher Lee and Ian McKellen alone.
And they battle.
You're talking about decades
Yeah,
worth of acting experience
I think
that
the
goes
only-
back to the 40s.
Yeah. I think the only person that really was considered a newcomer to Hollywood would have probably been Orlando Bloom, and that's because he was just out of acting school. Like, it wasn't his first role, but it was one of his
And it
first
helped him.
roles.
It helped him. Let's face it. It helped him get Pirates.
Yeah, it helped him launch the rest of his career.
It really, really did. Which
But I mean, we also had John Rhys Davies, Sean Bean, both of whom are Bond veterans, I believe. Wasn't John in one Bond movie?
yes, he was in a Bond film. He sure was.
He
And
was also in Indiana Jones, which we love him.
right. And Sean Bean, we've talked about him before in so many of the roles that he has been. He was his stereotype in Lord of the Rings.
Mhm.
Now, if you want to go cast per cast, just experience wise, I think Lord of the Rings wins it out. I think acting and drama wise, it's a tie. It's a real tie. If you want to go star power, I think Lord of the Rings wins that
I
one out
agree.
too.
I think Lord of the Rings takes the cast category.
You know, and overall, the cast category, just because I think part of the reason is because the kids were unknowns.
Yeah.
And as far as cast goes, and I'll be diplomatic here, I still think Lord of the Rings wins this out, just
I
because,
agree.
again, Christopher Lee, Ian McKellen have been actors since the 40s.
What's Bilbo's name?
Oh, I could have told you if you didn't ask.
He had been a British actor. Yeah,
Mhm.
Ian Holm. He had been a British actor, not really as well known in the States, but very, very well known in England.
All right, so are we all in agreement? Lord of the Rings wins the cast category?
Check.
All right.
There's 1 point. Lord of the Rings.
All right, moving right along, we have the VFX.
Visuals.
Both, yeah, visual and practical effects. Now, this is where we're going to have to get into basically the top versus Lord of the Rings practical orc makeup, as well as some of their impressive CGI versus all of the magic.
Let
in
me
Harry
just
Potter.
go ahead and say Harry Potter concede. I concede this. Just because I do. I mean, regardless of all the makeup and the monster studios and everything that were a part of Lord of the Rings, now realism,
Weta Workshop did an amazing job
And-
with all of the effects.
absolutely,
With all of the practical effects. Let's be honest.
However, when you start talking about some of the computer and they did some really neat computer animation
Okay, what is
with the
it?
goblins as well as the orcs in the entire
Balrog, thank you.
universe of the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit films, there was some pretty impressive CGI stuff going on. However, between that little game with the ball thing that flew,
Quidditch.
okay, the Quidditch and the Snitch, appropriately named. I just with the flying, with the castle, or with the castle itself. moving pictures, the
second movie.
Oh
creativity,
gosh, the second movie.
the creativity alone,
The spiders and the stupid basilisk in the second movie, and Fox the Phoenix as well.
I'm not necessarily worried about specifics. I am, however, saying overall, I concede the effects to the Harry Potter fans, and just because they were to a certain extent, the actors were more involved with the effects.
Yeah, they
whether
had
they
to
were
be,
in the
'cause
castle, wands,
swish
you
and
know,
flick.
and just everything.
Mostly, Harry Potter is more CGI and Lord of the Rings is more practical
I agree.
in that. So if you want to break it out, give Harry Potter the CGI, they win. Without a doubt. Lord of the Rings, however, used so much practical effects that
Yeah.
it made it real. It made it more to where we could relate and
Or
understand
at least
everything.
it works.
I think if the practical effects become part of a extra character
Yeah.
in Lord of the Rings, whereas those practical effects are used as tools
Mhm.
in Harry Potter. They're not necessarily
Yeah,
characters.
you can't really compare the practical effects because of the two, because Harry Potter doesn't have that many
And
practical
again,
effects.
I'll just concede this one.
Okay, I'm good with that. Katie, you good with giving
Sure.
Harry Potter this? All right.
Effects.
Oh goodness. And now we come to what will literally be the hardest part
Nope.
of this whole thing. Katie says no. The score.
Lord of the Rings, because it is memorable. Everybody knows it. The only thing that Harry Potter has is Hedwig's song. That
No,
is the
wait.
only part of the score that
Daddy's
anybody
about
remembers.
to start fighting you
Out,
because
no,
John Williams.
and that was it. That was the point I was going to make.
Fine. He fought
The
me
only
so hard.
listen, the only thing that Harry Potter has going for it is John Williams
And
in
Hedwig's song.
comparison.
That's it.
Well, I mean, he wrote it, so it's one of those things that
He also wrote Fox theme for
If
the second one.
if it weren't for
Hedwig's theme?
no, John Williams, if it wasn't for John Williams, you would not have the memorable music from Harry Potter. I tend to agree with Katie. The music, even though it's not John Williams,
It's
the
Howard
music
Shore.
is, thank you. And we've talked about that.
Link in the card.
Link in the upstairs
Here.
in the card. So we've talked about the fact that Howard Shore, again, just like with New Zealand being a extra character, the score for Lord of the Rings becomes a role. It becomes a player in all of it. I don't know that it does that as well. It does it, but I don't know that it does it as well in Harry Potter.
I will agree that at least
Is that a concession?
maybe. Hold on. I do want to say something for the Harry Potter music. I don't know who scored films 3 through technically 8. I know that John Williams did the music on the first 2. He didn't do the rest of them. However, in that first film, the music when Harry first gets to Hogwarts, when he first steps into Diagon Alley, when he first starts stepping into the wizarding world, there is such an enchantment. I do agree. I think Lord of the Rings does it better, but the sheer beauty of the enchantment that Harry experiences when he's first seeing it does need to be talked about. We are not saying that the Harry Potter scores are bad by any stretch of the imagination. Harry does have a great score, but
Lord of the Rings does it better.
Lord of the Rings has an edge because
would be
they have Howard Shore.
2-1.
Yes, Dad. I am keeping track. All right,
Music,
here.
in this family, we're
You
predictable.
should know this by
Music is going to win out a lot of
Often.
things.
And if you have a hard time focusing, download the Lord of the Rings soundtrack and read a book.
now. Yeah.
Have that in the background is like focuses you so well.
Yeah, if you are one of those people that requires noise while you read or requires noise while you do anything, the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit soundtracks, absolute best things
And
to have
now
on in
Rings
the
of
back.
Power.
Up next, we have adherence to source.
I can't speak to this
This
very
is
well.
how well the movies translated what the books gave us.
Okay,
This is where Katie and I are going to talk a little bit because you've not read them.
I will speak to one thing, however.
Speak.
Okay, I'm very excited that Rings of Power is going to
Fix the
fix
error.
the most egregious error that there was in Lord of the Rings. It took me a year to read the book. I mean, let's face it.
It took me longer.
It was
1 month.
it's I will
Show
tell
off.
you. Yeah, this one. It is a very difficult book to read. Worth your time, but difficult to read, especially if you are a fan of the movies, because the book does fill in. The most egregious error, however, and this is all over the message boards everywhere with Lord of the Rings, is Tom Bombadil. They're fixing that in Rings of Power, which is a very, very good retcon for this thing.
Katie and I actually theorized that would be kind of what they did back when we were first watching. After Rings of Power ended, we're like, we have the perfect way to bring Tom Bombadil into this. Like, we sat and talked for 30 minutes how we could bring Tom Bombadil in.
That
be-
and Treebeard. for
And
that matter.
because of
We've
that,
already seen Ents.
and the bits and pieces that I've read, again, I will concede source material to Harry Potter.
Hold on.
You guys have your conversation.
Katie,
I've said what I'm going to say.
you and I have both read Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. It's been a minute since I've read Lord of the Rings. How closely, like, can you say it is ripped straight, or are there multiple
There are
bits?
things moved
Mm-hmm.
and things taken out,
Mhm.
like the scoring of the Shire. I've heard several people say they
Scouring, yeah.
scouring of the Shire. They don't like the fact that that was not in the movies, but I understand why they did it that way. They needed a happy ending.
Yeah.
And
which
the
is
movie's
better
4 hours long to begin with.
If you're in extended edition,
Right.
It's
I mean, if you
three.
get them if all
It's-
three, you've got 12 hours worth of films.
Yeah.
And you're talking a book that took me a year to read.
Return of the King is 3 hours, non-extended edition.
yeah,
And we
it's a
watch
lot.
the extended editions.
But with Lord of the Rings, you have to remember what movies to books adaptations they've only got so much money they can use.
They've also
Right.
all
So-
got so much time.
And almost so much time. So Tom Bombadil and the scouring of the Shire, those are the two things that were taken out of the book.
Scouring
and
is kind of alluded to in the mirror scene, though.
In the
isn't
mirror,
it? In
it is-
Fellowship.
Yeah, it is in the mirror scene with Galadriel. But almost, not all of it, but some lines are mixed up
Mhm.
to different characters,
Mhm.
but most of it is straight on.
Okay.
I wish they had done more of Aragorn's coronation, but I understand why they cut it to where it was.
Yeah. With Harry Potter, honestly, it is an issue of time. Like, there are some things that could have been put in. Like, I really wish, especially in, like, the fifth movie. The fifth movie is the longest book, but it's the shortest film.
It makes me so mad.
And the fifth book is one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's the best book, but it's the worst movie.
I
in my
agree.
opinion.
I agree
Wow.
with that. And a lot of it is that one of the background characters, Percy Weasley, gets cut so badly from the movies. And so when you randomly see the actor walking with the bad guys, like, he's with bad guys in that film for all intents and purposes.
But you don't understand why he's there.
You don't understand why he's there. The books explain
Okay.
that. And also something I take issue with the books versus movies, or the books to movies rather, is Ron. Like, Ron gets made mean in the movies. Whereas in the books, Ron, like, he sticks up for Hermione in the books, whereas in the movie, he's,
Kinda
Snape's got a point.
antagonist.
Yes, he's so much more antagonistic to Hermione in the movies. I get the enemies to lovers trope, get that. That's not what Hermione and Ron are supposed to be, though. That's not. So, honestly, my opinion, I think Lord of the Rings gets this point.
I do too. Part of it is
Wow.
because the source, just like in the Battle of Helm's Deep, where Legolas and Gimli
Mhm.
are, I got 43.
Yeah, they're
and
counting.
They're counting. There's more of that in the book,
Yeah,
and there's more of the
back and forth.
back and forth with it, and that's just fun.
And they kept that. That
And they kept it.
could have been something so easily cut out. Most people wouldn't have cared, but they chose to keep it because they knew it was
Peter
fun.
Jackson did a fantastic job of
Peter,
using the
Philippa
source.
and Fran.
And also, going back to Christopher Lee, he read the book before he actually signed on.
He knew Tolkien.
He knew Tolkien.
Wow.
Christopher Lee was old. He knew Tolkien.
You didn't have to say it like that.
We love Christopher Lee. We miss him very much. He's been gone at least 4 years now, if not 5. But he worked during World War II doing, according to Peter Jackson, doing some sketchy stuff because he knew what noise people made when they got stabbed. But yeah, he was supposed to like scream out during Return of the King when Wormtongue stabs him, and he went, Peter, that's not what people sound like when they get stabbed. That freaked Peter out.
Wow.
But he met Tolkien.
That's
at one
awesome.
point during World War II. He met Tolkien. So he, above all the others, had the greatest of respects for this source material.
If I can make just one overarching comment,
Yes,
and
please.
Katie can attest to this better than either Kristen or I probably can because she reads voraciously. Most of the time,
I'm picky about what I read, though.
that is true. Most of the time, the film adaptation of any book is never going to be as good
No.
as the book.
No.
I don't. I mean, we've oftentimes said, and
Get
Chris
ready
is
for
like,
cards!
get ready for the cover is never as good as the original.
Check it off your Cross and Kid bingo cards.
Check it off your bingo card.
I think Lord of the Rings probably comes the closest
Yes.
out of any of them. Okay, stop. I am keeping score over here,
okay,
sir.
sorry,
I've
sorry.
got my notebook. I am keeping score.
She has the.
All right.
Do you have a
Impact.
thinking chair?
Shush. Impact. So this is basically fandoms, spin-offs, as well as, to an extent, merchandising. And I do have one thing to say that might give Harry Potter the edge. Universal Parks.
Okay, here's one thing else that I will give to Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
Universality of age, of people who will not only read the books, but will go and see the films. You're talking children to adults.
Yeah.
It is a wider appeal
because
to
Lord of the
audience.
Rings is really hard.
Because
to
Lord
read.
of the Rings
But
is
The
more
Hobbit is not. The Hobbit is an easy read.
more of the Lord of the Rings movies and the Hobbit movies are more adult natured
Yeah.
versus Harry Potter being that wide range of attitudes. I'll give Harry Potter this one because of the fact that it's a kid series of books.
But Harry also has something against it. The most recent Fantastic Beasts films. I loved the first one. The other two kind of stumble. Whereas I think the Hobbit movies are great. I am probably alone in that opinion.
Because they didn't stay close to their source material.
They extended it. They should have made
extended
it 2 really
long
movies rather than try to stretch it to a trilogy.
But here's the problem with that too. The book
It's this big.
is not compared to
this big, which is we keep talking about
1,008 pages, y'all.
We keep talking about Lord of the Rings like it's a singular book. That's because the version we all have,
which includes appendices and other things,
is one thick book.
Right.
It's not broken up into the trilogy. It is one thick. We call it the black book.
books.
We call it the black book because it's just a big black book once you take the dust cover off. So, that's why we keep talking about it like it's a singular book. But spin-offs like Lord of the Rings currently has Rings of Power going. It has gotten mixed reviews. Check out our review about it. We like it. Season 2 should be coming soon.
And I will give you this. They are they're taking from the source material, which is the Silmarillion and the Fall of Numenor, and Beren and Luthien, and the Fall of Gondolin. Those are the 3 books. I got those for Christmas 2 years ago, and I love the Fall of Gondolin and the Fall of Numenor. I love both of those. Beren and Luthien's story is a little bit harder to get through because you feel like you're reading the same story 400 times. But they have done a really good job with taking those source material, including the Silmarillion. If you've read it,
congratulations.
It took me a lot longer to read it than it did Lord of the Rings. But they're doing really good on staying with that. But I agree, that is a spin-off from it. Hobbit is almost a spin-off from the source material. It's a prequel, and they didn't stay close to the source material. They kept with the story just not all the other details.
Okay, so where do you fall at, like, the voracious fandoms, the theme parks, the spin-offs, the TV
Harry
shows?
Potter's got more.
Mhm,
Harry Potter's got more.
mhm.
Lord of the
Because you
Rings
don't
has
find
a
a Middle
select
Earth
group.
anywhere.
No.
No, which is shocking. Like, there are so many sections in the movies where you could easily make a ride. Just overall, with the spin-offs, with the merchandising, with just the general impact. Like, I will say this. Lord of the Rings has Oscars.
That is true.
Harry Potter does not, to my
Valid point.
knowledge. To
Valid
my
point.
knowledge. If I am wrong, please gently correct me in the comics, but to my knowledge, Harry Potter does not have the what, 12 Oscars?
You could be wrong just because they give an Oscar to everybody and everything now.
Lord of the Rings one has a record. It is currently tied, I think, but
Yes.
it has the record for most Oscars won in a single year. Lord of the Rings Return of the King holds that record.
So where are we
so where
falling
do
on
we
this?
fall? Where do we fall?
You
Katie,
guys are
you're-
the experts because you've
you're
read
the
the source material.
You're the tiebreaker. Dad's already given it to Harry Potter. I could go either way. Where do you fall?
As a number of people who talk
Just the
about,
general impact
Well,
of it.
well, there's not as much Harry Potter merchandise as there used to be, but I will go give it to Harry Potter.
All right.
Because overall, I think again, it lends itself towards
To
marketing
more
towards
people.
children.
Mhm.
You know,
I mean,
and
we have some friends that are currently reading through the books with their kids.
it's just a broader audience, and I think that in and of itself gives Harry Potter the upper hand on
Our local theater every summer for the last couple of
Plays
years
all
has been
8
playing
movies.
has played all 8 movies in their theater as kind of like a little summer event. So, who is the winner? Drum roll, please.
Oh, that's it?
That was all
Wow.
5. You said we were going to try to blaze through this.
Yay!
So, drum roll, please. The winner is Lord of the Rings. I mean, was there really a doubt going
Not in
into
this
We-
family, there
we-
wasn't.
we tried to put away the biases, and the simple fact of the matter is Harry Potter did win the visual effects and the overall cultural impact points
Here at the
But-
Cross and Kin living room.
here in the Cross and Kin living room.
You decide. I mean, especially again, Lord of the Rings is not appropriate for children. Okay, it's just not.
13 and up.
It's maybe, and that's even
14 and
stretching
up.
it. I would say 16 to 18 and up.
I was
personally.
15 when I first saw the films.
Okay, fair enough. But it's not a film series
For an
that
8-year-old.
it's absolutely not.
Use your parenting discretion.
Absolutely.
You know your children. The Cross and Kin family, we were teenagers when we first saw the film.
And that's probably more appropriate if we can advise you.
That's it here from Cross and Kin.
With our special guest.
Thank you, Katie, for coming and being our tiebreaker as well as our
And
mediator.
Just absolutely great insight, even, yes, especially since you sided with Lord of the Rings.
I mean, she's wearing the shirt.
She's wearing the shirt. I mean, that was kind of a given the
That's
fix
my
was in.
favorite personally.
That's
and
the
I am
fandom.
biased, but I also can.
She-
I've read all the book, Harry
Everything,
Potter
all the
books. I've
source
read
material,
all the
yes.
source
She's read all the things. That's another reason why we had her here. But she's a ringer before she's a Potterhead. So
Oh yeah.
those are the fandom names.
Okay,
Dad.
thank you very much. A little bit. I mean, I was like, yeah, the fix is in, so she's a ringer. I'm like, wait, what?
But anyway, that is it for us from Cross and Kin today.
We hope you've got a cool place to hang out, and if it's raining where you are, we can recommend a whole slew of movies. Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. We
It
can
was-
recommend both.
But that's us here from Cross and Kin. Thank you so much for being here. Please be sure to leave us a like, leave us a comment, and ring that notification bell so that you know every time we upload.
And remember, you're a part of the family here at Cross and Kin. Welcome to the Kin.
Until next time, I'm Kristen,
I'm Randy.
I'm Katie.
and we'll see you next vid. Bye!
Later.